Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Boston Balling. I'm your host, Gabby Hurlbut. I hope everyone's having a great start to the week. It's Tuesday, so one day closer to the weekend, which is awesome. I hope everyone had a great weekend last weekend. I mean, it was a really definitely intense last weekend of the regular season of football. I had fun watching a lot of those games. I think, everything came down to the wire, that Sunday night game in particular. We're going to get a little bit into that on the show tonight, but lots to talk about on this episode. We have a very, very exciting weekend coming up, so I'm really excited to have these two guests that I have with me tonight. Very, very knowledgeable about football. They have a fantastic podcast. I've been lucky to be a guest on their show. I love to interact with them on Twitter about, different teams and different sports. Definitely really talented guys, Bobby and Julian, my good friends. How are you guys doing tonight?
What's going on, Gabby? Like I said before we got on, it's a pleasure and an honor to be on Boston Balling. Love this. Love being on it, talking football, talking our Patriots, of course, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thank you so much. It's always an honor to come on the show. Thanks for the warm welcome. Bobby texted me, was fired up. He's like, "You want to go on Gabby's podcast as Boston Ball?" I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go!" Like, what time? Like, I'm there.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love having you guys. Like, our conversations are always so good because it's always interesting. Because for baseball, they're both Yankees fans, and I'm a Red Sox fan. And for football, Bobby and I are both Patriots fans, and Julian is a Jets fan, a sad Jets fan. So we all like to kind of, go back and forth with each other on those teams in particular. But yeah, I'm excited to have you guys. I think this is going to be a really fun episode. Lots to talk about, lots to just get into, but before we do that, why don't you guys just talk a little bit about your show and kind of how it got started and, what you're up to now.
You want to go first, Jules?
Oh, you can go, brother. Then I'll go.
Okay. So Julian and I, for those of you who don't know, Julian and I have been basically family members for a very long time. We've been best friends since out of high school, and after that, me and him have always been. Julian and I have this connection where we basically know a lot about sports, and literally we talk. Well, this was Julian. I always give him the credit for this because we would always talk every day, and one day he said, "You know what, brother?" He's like, "Let's start a podcast," and I was like, "You know what? Let's do it," because it was coming up. So what I'll never forget this is at Julian's house in his garage, he had a stand-up mic, and it had one side. I don't think this worked at all at the time. We didn't know if it did or not, but it literally. You remember that one, Jules? I know you do. In the garage.
Yeah, I know.
So one of the sides had a mic, and the other side looked like it had it, so we both could talk at the same time. So we tried it. And his side worked, but my side didn't.
Yeah, I think that's
so
place.
We're just like, okay, we're going to put this on the back burner. And then around October of 2018, we did our inaugural show. We didn't have mics at the time. We sat with our laptop. I was in Julian's basement right before we were watching football. Like, let's try this out. So we did it, and we evolved, got mics. Used to have the one that Gabby has right now. I don't use that one anymore. I use this one, but I'm probably going to go back to that one because this one's no good. And we've been doing this since 2018. Julian and I literally every week we come up with a show. We started out doing mostly every sport, even though we hardly watched basketball a lot, even though we hardly watched hockey unless it was the playoffs. So sometimes Julian and I would be watching a hockey show, and I'll be looking up stuff before we did it because I'll be the first one to admit it. I only watch hockey when it's playoff hockey. That'll be the first one to admit it. But football and baseball is Julian and I's passion. That's basically where we go with Yankees. Julian and I, you know how much we love the Yankees, especially Julian right there. He loves it more, and everybody knows, especially him, how much this team means to me. How he knows it. People know this. I have a tattoo on my arm of this. This team means a lot to me, and doing this podcast, I say this all the time. If I was going to do this with somebody, there's nobody I'd rather do it with than him. So Julian and I, like I said, we've been best friends for a long time. Yeah, I'm buttering him up a little bit, as Belichick would say. So, or was it something with the bouquet or whatever? But him and I have been really close. We keep doing this. We've been to the baseball winter meetings. Tried to go for the past 2 years. Thanks a lot, COVID.
And Rob.
And the draft, we came up with, just improvising on the fly and doing this for basically this in October. It's going to be 4 years we've been doing this, and we've grown and met a lot of friends along the way, especially you, which we're very, very happy we did. Especially, I'm excited because you're a Patriots fan, and that gives more because Patriots Twitter, love that. But some people on Patriots Twitter could be a bit toxic, us spoiled Patriots fans. Yeah. But we Gabby and I, keep it real on there, and I love Patriots. So I'll give you that. Yankees Twitter is something else too. I won't go into that much. But other than that, with G, we started off G&T Sports Talk, and then we transitioned to Grunt Talk Sports. And to me, G&T Sports Talk, for everyone asks us, what does it stand for? It's Guilarte Thompson, babe. That's what it is.
Thompson Sports.
Yep. And like I said, Julian and I have been best friends. You'll hear us call each other brother, and I know a lot of people will be like, "Are you guys actually brothers?" Biologically, no, but we're basically we call each other family. Julian's brother calls me his brother too all the time. Our families are very close, so we're just I'm very fortunate to be doing this because it's one thing to want to do it and to do a podcast, and people will be like, "Oh, let's do it," but it's another thing talking about it and doing it. And look at Gabby. Look at what you've done with Boston Balling.
By yourself,
people know who you are. I tell people all the time, like, listen to Boston Balling. They're like, we know who that is.
Yeah.
So
That's so cool.
Even amongst our Yankee community.
Yep, exactly. What you're doing is awesome. And Julian and I, we're still trying to continue to grow. Julian may focus on the Yankees a lot more. And when football comes along, like free agency, like last year, I hardly slept during free agency, especially with the Patriots since we signed everybody.
Not raising the way of.
Yeah, but this year we're going to do that again too. And the sky's the limit for us. So that's a little. I know this was a long rundown on what we've been. I basically gave you a full synopsis of how everything transpired. And Jules, what do you got for me?
I'll be quick with it because you did a great job. You basically hit the nail on the head. So we started doing. I remember I was in the Jamal Adams jersey, stupid jersey now, but back then it was cool. He was in the Patriots jersey. We had the laptops by the table. We were just talking to the mic. Like we were doing our previews for each game. Like we went through the whole rundown. It was like an hour. I think we streamed it live on Facebook.
What are we doing tonight?
Too.
We did. I remember that. Yeah,
it was so funny, but. We've made some good progress, as Bobby said. Grunt Talks is basically Guilarte Thompson anyway. Still got the GT going strong, so I guess it works out from that perspective. But it's been great. Today I got to interview a Yankees minor league pitcher, Hayden Weswensky. I never thought that would happen when we started this. Like all these doors it's opened. It's just been a crazy ride, and probably unfortunately couldn't be in that one. But that's the first one I've done solo. But we do everything basically together, literally everything. So. All our podcasts are like that, and we're excited to be on the show. Let's get it rolling.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never once seen an episode posted that it's not both of you.
I know it was a little weird today.
Yeah, you guys are like partners in crime. I love it though. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys giving that rundown. I love your show. You guys do a great job, and I'm excited to have you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, there's a lot of football to be talked about right now. A lot of interesting matchups coming up this weekend. I think I do want to start though before we get into this weekend. I do want to start with that insane Sunday night football game.
We have
best game I've seen. Best game I've seen since the Super Bowl of 28 to 3.
That was generational.
I do not know about you guys, but I was really, really rooting for a tie in that game.
I was starting.
Really
so was I.
See them just take knees at the end and just say, we both are going to go to the playoffs, so let's just end in a tie. Like, what did you guys think of that game in general?
That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, I still can't believe it actually happens. Like, all the fourth downs, like the going for your own 20. Like, what are you doing there? I mean, Justin Herbert making all these fourth down conversions, putting the team on his back.
Every fourth down, they were converting on it.
The Raiders were playing.
Making fourth down conversions look so easy right now.
It was effortless. Like the Raiders were playing a great game. They were up by a lot, then they let it slip in typical Raider fashion to make every game nerve-wracking. But I got to give them so much credit, like Derek Carr and all that, all the adversity they went through, like him and Hunter Renfrow. But Staley cost them that game, honestly. I mean, the timeout, we almost got the tie scenario. I was so conflicted because I don't like Big Ben and the Steelers, and he doesn't either, and you don't either. So, like, I wouldn't have minded seeing the tie. It would have been kind of funny. But the game was so good, like, it almost had to have someone win it. Like, it would have been weird to see that in the tie. It was a crazy situation.
It really was.
First off, that game probably was one of the greatest games I've ever seen. It's never going to top the 28-3 Super Bowl for especially for us,
Well,
but it was close. In that game, I was actually with my wife. She fell asleep. We were in our bed watching it. So literally she's falling asleep, and I want a tie, because the reason I want a tie is the Patriots would have played the Bengals if there was a tie. And also, of course, get two teams in there for a tie. First of all, Brandon Staley and how do you say Biscasio, whatever his name is, the interim head coach. Biscasio, yeah. They should have met at midfield before the game and said, "Listen, there's a chance there's a tie. I'll give you let's just go together. Let's do it." So nothing I've ever seen before. But Justin Herbert, to me, is he's from another planet. First of all, there's no way in hell in how you convert that many fourth downs. Some teams don't even convert that many fourth downs in a whole season, let alone a game, for crying out loud.
Was it 6 or 7?
What's that?
Was it 6 or 7? Is that what it was?
I think it was 6 or 7, but I just got to give credit where credit's due. Justin Herbert is fearless. This guy is very good. He did make mistakes, but he's the reason they stayed in that game. Mike Williams, I'm just telling you this. I tweeted this out. He's going to get paid this offseason. He's a free agent. Wherever he goes, you're getting a stud. He was basically the main reason they kept going. Keenan Allen was quiet that game. Austin Eckler in the second half kind of slowed down a bit. But I got to give credit where credit's due. The Raiders played well. They did blow it, though. But, Brandon Staley, you want to talk about all these coaches getting fired. I think what he did is a fireable offense. And I'm not kidding. It's true. You cost this team a chance to go to the playoffs. And I can guarantee you this. Chargers are in the playoffs. Nobody's going to want to play with them with the game they just played, because they could beat anybody. And to me, it's the explanation that Staley gave is just asinine. That makes no sense whatsoever. You wanted the right personnel. Who cares what personnel is on there? They were going to kneel the ball, run the ball. Now, it all comes down to tackling, yes, and the Chargers' run defense is horrible. So all they needed was one measly tackle, push down. And if you saw at the end of the game, Eckler was talking to someone on the Raiders, and you could see him mouthing, "Were you going to kneel it?" They said, "Yeah, we were going to."
Oh my God!
I've never seen that in the NFL. That scenario, that two teams tie, they make the playoffs. And literally, during that game when the Chargers were coming back, I'm like, this game's ending in a tie. But I'm just saying, Brandon Staley, you cost this team, and this. I'm always going to call them the San Diego Chargers. That they should have. That's besides the point. They should have never left the city of San Diego, robbing that great city of a football team. But anyway, they have a very good team. You rob all these players of a chance to go to the playoffs. To me, I'm going to keep saying this till I'm blue in the face. That's a fireable offense. And next year, if they're not anything competitive and they're struggling in games, and you're pulling a Joe Judge move, going for it on fourth down deep in your own territory in the 18-yard line, that's a fireable offense. I'm sorry, he's got to go. And if Anthony Lynn was still the head coach, Chargers would be in the playoffs right now. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, to me, it was really, I mean, because the Raiders even said they said straight up, if he hadn't taken that timeout, they were planning on kneeling the ball. And then him taking the timeout is what changed their mentality at the end of the game. So that literally is what did it. But you're right. That was the other thing I was going to bring up when they decided to go for it, when it's like, why are you going for it here in this caliber of a game when your season is literally on the line right now on your own 18-yard line? That was just, I was watching that and I was like, what is he doing? Like, what, like now is not the time to be going for it.
Yeah, it was absolutely absurd. The Raiders may have possibly ran it. Even if they have one play, you keep the guys out there, you let them try to stop it. They were going to run the clock. Like, I don't get it. And then apparently the personnel they changed wasn't even like the right personnel. Like I saw, apparently they put in
that's another thing.
Like they put in another corner or something. Like it was completely backwards. Like I don't know what happened, but really bad. It looked like it was destined to be a tie. It would have been a fun scenario. I'm upset that Justin Herbert saw the playoffs.
I was going to say that.
I meant to say that before. Like I commented in the Facebook post too. I was like, I'm upset he's not in there. Like that's the thing we're really robs of here.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. I would have loved to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs this year. I would have loved to see the Chargers in general in the playoffs this year, because I think they would have given teams some serious problems if they were in the playoffs this year. And that's why it's really unfortunate that how Justin Herbert looked in the end of that game with all of those fourth down conversions, like that's a special quarterback to me. That's somebody who is going to have a seriously really good future as long as he stays healthy. And his own coach is the person who robbed him of a playoff opportunity this year, when I think they had a genuine chance of making a deep playoff run had they been in the postseason. Because like you said, Bobby, I don't think anybody would want to see the Chargers. I know I wouldn't if they had been in the postseason. I mean, I would not want be a team that I would want to play.
Absolutely not. And you hit the nail right on the head, Gabby. Justin Herbert was robbed of being in the playoffs. And literally when you see him mouth on NBC, he said, I never wanted a tie so bad in my life. This guy is going to be around for a long time, and you're going to hear him in the record books. This kid is doing things that are impossible. The things I love Justin Herbert. I do. When he got drafted, I'll say this. I think the Dolphins made a huge mistake picking Tua over Herbert, but that's besides the point.
Well, they did.
But 100%.
It's Brandon Staley robbed this team. Like I said, it's a fireable offense. The Chargers, if they were in the playoffs right now, because if I'm not mistaken, if they were in, I think they're the 6th seed. So they would be playing.
And the Patriots are the 5.
Yeah. So the Patriots would play.
Bengals.
Patriots would be playing the Bengals.
Raiders would have gotten the Bills.
Yep, then
Chargers would have gotten the Bills, and then Raiders would have gotten the Chiefs.
And I'm going to say this right now. I think the Chargers could have given the Bills a run for their money. I really do. Because the Bills' defense, their number one ranked defense, if they have a weakness, it's running the ball. And then with, their passing, their secondary is very, very good, minus Tre'Davious White, who's out with an ACL. But the thing is, you can pass on them. You can. They do have some holes. I love their safeties with Poyer and Micah Hyde. But Justin Herbert, I think, with the play action game and Austin Eckler being able to run the ball effectively, I think the Bills would have been really concerned about this game. I really do. The only thing that would have the Bills would have gotten a home game, and with the weather, because the Chargers play out in LA, I think that's a factor. A lot of people don't understand this. Weather's a factor for teams that don't play in the cold. It's a huge factor.
Yeah. I mean, I was just talking about this last week on the show, too, about how there's all of these teams that are coming from warm places and having to play in cold places in the playoffs. And that definitely is something that needs to be considered. And so I think, the Chargers would have struggled with that, with the temperatures in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, I think that would have been an insane matchup. It's a really tough matchup for Buffalo. And so it's really unfortunate that we're not going to get to see that. But I think the Chargers are well on their way. I think they have a really good future ahead of them.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see Justin Herbert's career and how he really continues to develop in the league, because I think that he's going to be one of those players that's being talked about for a long time. I think he's really special, and we saw a lot of that in that game on Sunday, and we saw the resiliency, and we saw him be really, really smart with the football and not be in panic mode when it came to those important fourth downs when he had to convert, and he just looked so calm and collected and just made the right plays when he needed to, and that was impressive to me to see in that game.
Absolutely. And Justin Herbert is definitely going to have a bright future. I think once he gets the right coach and gets the offensive coordinator, Mike Lombardi, is really doing a really good job with him. So I think once he gets, because Brandon Staley's not the answer. He's not. And the Chargers down the road, they're going to, I'm a huge ask Julian every year. What do I say, Julian? Watch out for the Chargers. Am I right?
Yeah, we always think it's going to be the year to get over the hump. This was supposed to be that year. And the other thing is that if they didn't lose to the Texans, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Yep. That was an embarrassing situation that they gave up 41 points to the Texans. Like, how does that happen? You see Justin Herbert throwing a ball for grabs against the Texans. How does that happen? Like, that just can't happen. And then, like, them and the Colts were the biggest collapses, obviously. The Colts was even worse with Jacksonville. Like
that was another thing I was going to bring up, though, too, was the Colts, because that was a team that I'm kind of relieved that they didn't make the playoffs either, because the Colts were a team that I said if they make the playoffs, I think are a serious sleeper team that could give a lot of other teams trouble. And so, I mean, that's interesting for them, though, because the one thing they have to do in order to get into the playoffs is beat the Jags, and they can't even do that. I mean, that's embarrassing. So that's why, I mean, I'm happy that they are not in the playoffs, because the Colts were a team that were seriously scaring me towards the end.
Yeah, look at what they did to look at what the Colts did to the Patriots. Yeah. Really, it really bothers me. But the problem is with the Colts, whose fault is it? It's Carson Wentz's fault. He played horribly against this Jaguars team. This Colts defense was scary good against the Patriots when we had that 7-game winning streak. We could not do a thing against them. For some unknown reason, this Colts team cannot beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville. I don't know if it's the weather. It wasn't even that hot in Jacksonville that day. I don't know what it is, but it's baffling to me. It really is. And I could tell you this. Frank Wright said this today. I don't know if you guys heard this. He's not committing to Carson Wentz next year. There's another thing. You give up a first-round pick for the guy. You take on all that cap space, and now you're not even going to commit to him after 1 year. I mean, I understand why it cost you to go to the playoffs, for Christ's sake. But look, we all know this. The guy's not good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's not.
And I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt because, I mean, the Eagles obviously weren't the place for him. So I was like, oh, maybe he can come here and really, really thrive in Indianapolis. But he hasn't even shown that he can really do that either.
No, especially with with Frank Wright. And we said this is the perfect landing spot. When he was in Philly in 2017 and he was at his best was when Frank Wright was there. And it's just not working. It's just all the weapons he has. Jonathan Taylor. The Colts won games. 2 reasons. Their defense was elite, and Jonathan Taylor's running for nearly 200 yards a game, and you can't stop him. So, and literally, the way to beat the Colts, make Carson Wentz throw. That's it. And when you do that, the Jaguars' defense just plays out of nowhere. They play the Bills great. They come to New. I was a little nervous to play Jacksonville. I'll be honest. The Patriots just completely annihilated them. Then they go and knock the Colts out of the playoffs. So this team. Once they get a head coach, I think they got a bright future. But in terms of the Colts and Carson Wentz, it just, you know what? After 1 year, you see what happens. That Carson Wentz cost you a game and cost you the biggest game, and now you're not in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Wentz is mediocre at best, honestly. I thought he was actually getting it together. It looked like he was going to right the ship. He was doing just what he needed to do, but then you saw the terrible play against Jacksonville, and just isn't good enough, and they stopped Jonathan Taylor somehow, and then they dared him to beat him, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah, I could not believe it. I was like, wow, this is so because had they won, then the night game that would have been just a different game altogether, and so that kind of changed everything. The whole vibe changed after the Colts lost, because then it's like, oh well, the Steelers now still can make it in. Like these two teams tonight, like the game matters a little bit more because now it's like one team can win, and like you know what I mean. So there were all these factors now after the Colts lost, but if the Colts won, it would have just been interesting to see how that game would have actually turned out. So that was definitely another team that I was happy to see them not in the playoffs, but also just. I was like, how does that happen? How can you not beat the Jags of all teams? The team that literally the week before that, like gave up 50 against the Patriots. It's just so strange to me how that works. But that's why football is great, because on any given Sunday, any team can come out and just play better football than the other team. It just happens.
Yeah, that's why these playoffs are going to be crazy. Wild card weekend, super wild card. We got a Monday night game, which has never happened before in the playoffs. We don't know what's going to happen with these games. There could be upsets all over the place. Nothing's a given except for the fact that the Chiefs probably beat the Steelers. Other than that, I mean, anyone's up for grabs, in my opinion, almost.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a good segue into that, though, because, I mean, speaking of those games, I mean, there's some good matchups that we have going on here. I mean, in these games, I mean, it's going to be a really, really fun weekend. I think there's going to be a lot of close games, but I mean, the first game that we do have is the Raiders-Bengals game. And this game to me is really, really interesting because, I think that this could be a really close game. I think it's a pretty evenly matched matchup.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. When you look at this matchup, first off, the Bengals offense is completely unstoppable, in my opinion. First off, you got to worry about Joe Mixon running the ball, and then you got to worry about him getting his receptions. And then you got three freaks of nature on the outside actually four, I'm sorry. You got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, who's starting to come on as of late, finally, right, Jules?
Yeah,
and then
for us, unfortunately.
Yeah, right. And then CJ Uzomah, the tight end, who I think is pretty good. The one problem with me that I have with this Bengals team is that defense, and obviously their offensive line that has Joe Burrow getting sacked 51 times this year. That is why, as a Patriots fan, I wanted to play them because I felt our pass rush could really cause problems and really try to limit them. The Raiders listen, they just lost a guy, Phylon, I believe his name was. He was a interior defensive lineman. He had a huge game against Chargers. He tore his patella tendon. He's out. But the Raiders have a guy by the name of Max Crosby who literally was unblockable last week against the Chargers. Every time they went back to pass, he was in Herbert's face. I was surprised Herbert could do anything he did with Max Crosby literally in his face every time. But the thing is with that's going to be trouble for the Bengals. But ultimately, I think the Bengals score too much points, and I keep saying the Chargers. The Raiders are going to try to play catch up, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think this Bengals team is really, really good. Zach Taylor, I think, is doing a great job with what he has. I think they built a great core to make Joe Burrow successful. The offensive line better play their hearts out this week because they're going to be in trouble, and it's just going to get harder. But I will say this, in my opinion, in terms of the Raiders, I will say this. I think Derek Carr's really played well with all the injuries, losing Henry Ruggs for the stupidity he did. Yeah. Darren Waller being injured. I think that guy Brian Edwards is pretty good. And Hunter Renfrow is a freak of nature. I think Hunter Renfrow is a guy who's going to really cause trouble for this Bengals defense, especially on third down. 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, you need to pass a little little Julian Edelman in the middle crosser route. It's uncoverable. So to me, it's going to be interesting. But for me, I'm going to go with the Bengals on this one, and I think that the Raiders don't have anybody who could limit Jamar Chase. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, those are the points I'm looking at too. Like it's going to be the battle of the trenches, basically. So,
yep.
Can they protect Burrow enough because he's going to rip that secondary apart if he has time, like we saw Justin Herbert do. The Raiders have no answers in the secondary, like you said, but I think they could score points to a lot of the points because the Bengals gave up 400 yards to Mike White. Let's not forget that. Our journeyman backup quarterback.
Let's throw that one in.
Yeah, the Jets beat the Bengals this year, so there is a path for the Raiders to win this game. I think they can keep it close. I mean, 6 points is kind of a lot to me. I think it's going to be high scoring because of the defenses. I don't think they're too great on either side, but the pass rush could definitely be an X factor. I think it's going to be an exciting game, and Josh Jacobs is coming to life all of a sudden. If he can continue to do that, then Raiders will have a good shot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the pass rush was one of the things I was going to bring up too. I mean, and from what we saw with the Chargers, I think that the Raiders defense was giving Justin Herbert way too much time to make those plays. And I could see that being an issue again. And so I think offensively, I'm definitely giving an edge to the Bengals because I think like if they couldn't really handle a lot of what Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense was doing, I think it could be even worse against the Bengals because like you mentioned with Jamar Chase, who's gonna cover him? You know what I mean? For the entirety of the game. So I could see that being an issue. The one thing I will say, I mean, that's what I mean. The one thing I will say about the Bengals though is the lack of experience, and they're a very young team. And
that's
so
a very good point.
Another thing that needs to be considered too, because they don't have that playoff experience.
That's huge.
And so they haven't been in this spot before, and there's a very, very young roster over there. And so I think that's definitely a thing that we need to consider in all of this as well. I'm picking the Bengals still, I think, in a close game, though. I think it's going to end up being one of those games that comes down to the wire. And I think that we could see some of like maybe at the beginning of the game, maybe the Bengals come out a little bit nervous because they're not used to that kind of pressure. And so I think that needs to be taken into consideration too. But at the end of the day, I think the Bengals are the better team.
That's a good point you brought up about the playoff inexperience and stuff. And the Bengals are notorious playoff chokers, so they have a hurdle to get over still. Even though it's a new group of guys, the franchise is still the same, and they haven't won a playoff game since '91. And we see them choking these playoff games all the time. I mean, Joe Burrow is way better than Andy Dalton. No one needs to get that confused. This is the best Bengals. This is the best Bengals team that's been on the field probably since Carson Palmer was playing with Chad Ochocinco and TJ Houshmandzadeh going all the way back then. That was TJ
Houshmandzadeh.
That was a fun thing. That was a fun Bengals team to watch. But I'm going to start this off a little funky, and I'll say the Raiders get the upset somehow.
Okay. I like it. I think it'll be close either way. I think it's going to be regardless of who wins. I think it could be a shootout, like more of an offensive battle, because like Julian said, I don't really trust either of the defenses a whole lot, but I think it's going to be a close game. But it should be interesting to see how this one plays out because I think that's one of the most evenly matched ones that we have. So I think it's going to be fun to have that one kicking off the whole weekend. No pun intended on that. But yeah, so then we move on to game number 2, which for Bobby and I is going to be a very, very stressful Saturday night that hopefully ends in
stressful is an understatement.
Patriots Bills. This is where people disagreed with me a little because I said I wanted the Bengals in the first round. So I said, I want the Chargers to win, or I want the game to end in a tie so that the Patriots can get the Bengals. Some people did disagree with me on Twitter and said, no, I rather would have the Bills because they're a familiar team and we know them and we've seen them a couple times already. But I said, I could definitely see that because Bill obviously knows the Bills and I just realized how weird that sounded. Bill knows the Bills.
Oh, wow. That's a good play on words.
Yeah, he does, though. So, I mean, they're a familiar team. So, yes, I do get that. They already won in Buffalo this year, which I'm hoping will give Max some confidence, knowing he already won in Buffalo with even worse conditions than they're going to have this weekend. So I'm hoping that gives them a little confidence there. But I do get that argument of, we know the Bills better, so I'd prefer them. But I kind of still would have preferred the Bengals for all the reasons you listed before, Bobby. I think that the Patriots, I liked the matchup better against Cincinnati. But, it's going to be, again, the defense. What we saw in the last game against the Bills, there's going to need to be some serious adjustments from that on the defensive side of the ball. And to me, I'm looking at it as the turnovers and all the penalties and that type of stuff that the Patriots continue to do to beat themselves that are very preventable mistakes. Because you look at the difference when they make those mistakes and when they don't, it's a much, much better Patriots team that can be a lot tougher to beat if they're healthy and they're not making those little mistakes. And so I think if they're cutting out those little mistakes, then they have a much better chance of winning the game.
Yeah. In terms of that, I'm going to go with the Patriots are, and sorry about that, guys. Just don't answer it then. Just don't worry about it. Oh my God. In terms of the Patriots, I'm sorry, guys. Can you hold on one second? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Hold on.
No,
hold on. I'll be right back.
No, so what I was saying though was that's basically my main thoughts on it. I think that, I think when it comes to the Bills, they know the Patriots as much as the Patriots know the Bills. You know what I mean? So it's going to be I think it's going to be a very intense game. I think I really think it's going to be a close game, more so like the first matchup they had against each other, as opposed to the second matchup against each other, which was like a blowout in favor of the Bills. I don't think it's going to be like that again.
I think you made a lot of good points. Like, you're getting the third matchup, just like Cardinals-Rams. You're going to have a lot of familiarity. I think offenses might be slower than people expect. I can see a bloodbath, kind of. Not as crazy as the first game where Mac Jones only throws 3 passes, but I could see something like in the low 20s, or like maybe a 2017 potentially, just because these teams know each other inside and out. But now, like, there's no tricks. I know Bill's great at scheming against any quarterback, basically, and he's done well against Josh Allen for the most part. But each team knows each other well. Here's the thing I'll say. You guys have 2 big advantages here. You have a better coach, obviously, because I don't trust McDermott as much. He really didn't. He did some questionable things the first time you guys played.
Yeah.
And you guys have a better defense, too, maybe. So I think it's going to be very interesting. Obviously, they have the better quarterback. So it's going to be I think it's going to be like a 3-point game.
I agree with you on coaching for sure, because everybody needs to take into consideration that Belichick is Belichick, and it's hard to really count out a coach like that in the postseason. And like Bobby, what I was just saying to Julian was, I definitely think that this game is going to be a lot more like the first game we saw between the Patriots and Bills, as opposed to the second one that was a blowout in the Bills' favor. I really think it's going to be more of a close game like we saw in the first matchup.
Yeah. First, I'm sorry about that, guys. Literally, some crazy person just knocked on my door and everything, so I had to take care of that. And
okay.
So yeah, sorry. I truly apologize for that.
No, it's okay.
And so in terms of what I was going to say was with this matchup, here's an interesting stat for you guys. Josh Allen against the Patriots in Orchard Park is 1-4. He's not very good in Orchard Park against the Patriots, which is pretty interesting, I might add. Here's the thing with this. The first matchup, the Patriots ran the ball 46 times. The Bills knew what was coming every time and still could not stop Damian Harris and Ramondre. First off, to me, I love Ramondre. I think Ramondre Stevenson is a stud. He reminds me so much of a quicker and more agile LeGarrette Blount. And Damian Harris, to me, is somebody who, when healthy and you get him going, you will not stop him. I love this stable of backs we have. In terms of this game with the weather, I do think that you're going to see a lot of running the ball. The Bills' rushing attack is basically non-existent, but the past few weeks it has come alive. And the thing is with this game, Gabby, I agree with you. It's going to be like the first game. I think Bill Belichick, personally, not only is he angry, if you get a chance at a team and you lost them the last time for a third time, I think Bill Belichick, I'm taking my money for Bill Belichick. He's got a plan. The one problem is with this is the Patriots did place Jalen Mills on the COVID list today, so that's a problem. And you don't want your second corner being out with COVID against this Buffalo Bills team, because then it's going to be a problem. But I do believe he will. I don't think he has a lot of symptoms from somebody I know who writes for the Patriots. He said he's asymptomatic as of now, so that's good. So he can be back. So I'm hoping for that. Patriots did sign Cravon LeBlanc, who was with the Patriots in 2016 in the preseason. He was pretty good and really did well with the Eagles and the Bears in his time in the NFL. And listen, the Patriots are getting Dante Hightower back this week. We're getting Kyle Duggar, who I might add, when he's not in the defensive lineup, we're a different team on defense. And in this game, we need Matt Judon, who has had a great season, 12.5 sacks, has been an absolute stud. He needs to take over this game. This pass rush needs to come to life, and I don't want to see Josh Allen rolling out of that pocket, throwing across his body when you're not supposed to do that, and completing passes for 20 yards. That last game made me so angry seeing that, because that we've seen guys like Brett Favre do that, and he gets picked off every time. So it's, to me, with this game, it's going to come down to not turning the ball over, running the ball against this defensive line of the Bills, which has come to life as of weeks, but I think we could take advantage of it, and keeping Josh Allen in the pocket, which is easier said than done. But I'm going to tell you this. I never bet against my team. And Gabby, I know you don't either. We're always going to ride with the Patriots, of course. I'm going to tell you this. Nobody's giving the Patriots a chance except Patriots fans.
Nope, nobody.
And that's fine. That's fine. We like it that way because, and I'll tell you why, this is a game that I just think everybody's, Mac Jones hit this rookie wall. Yeah, he's had a bad 2 weeks. We get it. I think, honestly, this just gives me a 2001 Patriots vibe where where Brady was rookie and where we had a great rushing attack, a good defense. It just gives me this type of vibe where I'm not calling, by any means, I'm not calling Mac Jones Tom Brady. You will never hear me say that. I don't want him to be the next Tom. I wish he could be something like that, but we know he won't. But I'm just saying it just gives this Patriots team gives me a 2001 team vibe. And I think that they can really catch the Bills napping, especially in Orchard Park.
And it's Julian, I want to get your thoughts on who you think is going to win in a second too. But yeah, I mean, you bring up a really good point about the coaching. Like we just talked about that too before. I mean, Julian brought that up also, that Bill Belichick, I mean, it's just tough to, bet against him in a game of this caliber. And I do think they're going to go out there, and we know they're going to have made plenty of adjustments from that second game against Buffalo. I do not think things are going to be that scrappy. And I think people are, like you said, counting the Patriots out. But if you think about it, at the beginning of the season, nobody had the Patriots as a playoff team either.
Nope.
And so it's just been a similar pattern all season where people just kind of counted out the Patriots because of, understandable reasons. Like we didn't know how the season was going to go, any of us really. But, I think that they know that, and everybody's riding that Bills train. And I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that plays out.
Yeah. What scores do you guys got? I'll go after. I want to hear your scores, and I'll give
Gabby, you go first.
I'm gonna say 27-24 Patriots.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 27-23 Patriots, and I always do this in our podcast. I always do this, and Julian knows this. I give scenarios, and sometimes they actually come true.
He predicts things sometimes. It actually happens. Like, still one story quick that they get too side on the one time, but this one really freaks me out. You know where I'm going with this. So one time me and Bobby were out with the bat in the parking lot somewhere, and he's like, Jimmy Graham's going to have 0 catches or 0 yards tomorrow against the Patriots. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're full of it. And then Jimmy Graham gets hurt. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
That's crazy.
I said he was going to get hurt, too.
That is crazy.
And then we're watching the game, and I said, Jimmy Graham's going to be, and that's when he was on the Saints, and he was like amazing.
This is when he was like a big deal and all that.
And I said he's going to be he's going to be targeted a lot of times, and he's going to have no catches, no yards, and he's going to lead the game with an injury. Julian goes, I think the term he said is you need to get drug tested, and I'm just like you watching it happen, and he goes, what the hell did you? He's like, what? This isn't real. Like, how did you do that? And I'm like, I saw the future. And he's like, stop it. Come on.
Yeah, that is so bizarre.
I'm still baffled by that to this day. That's only like one of them. There's been other ones too, but that's the one that always stands out to me.
Yeah. But I will say this. With that score, I will say one adjustment they need to make is Stephon Diggs needs to get double covered. I don't want to see him single covered, even if it is J.C. Jackson. And I'm going to say this. J.C. Jackson's going to and the last drive when the Bills are trying to win the game, he's going to be the one to end it on an interception. I just feel it.
Wow.
You think when the Patriots are up 27-23 and the Bills are driving for a game-winning touchdown,
he's going to get a huge interception, especially
he knows that
since he said, yeah, you hear it here. If this happens, then I'm foreshadowing this now.
Right?
Yeah,
J.C. Jackson gets the game-winning interception, and he's had a lot of demons against the Bills and Stephon Diggs, and this time when it matters the most, he overcomes that.
Especially after dropping that interception in that last game against
that could
definitely changed the entire vibe of that game too. Because had he caught that, that
That's a
game
pick
could have
six.
turned out differently, but I think that was the turning point in that game too, and I think he knows that, and especially after that. That's another thing I'm thinking of too with him. I'm just kind of pinpointing back to that.
No, that's a good point. That's my matchup to watch, actually. I'm happy you guys brought it up. It's all about Diggs and J.C. Jackson because Diggs has had a lot of great work against him. The snow game's almost like you got to throw that one out because that was just like a weird game. So I almost don't even use that game to evaluate anything except for the fact that McDermott got out coached badly, like I said before.
Oh, yeah, he did.
And I admit it, too. Me and my dad were watching like, wow, this guy's really messing up here. But anyway, so I think Diggs is he's the kryptonite. So Bill's going to try to double team him, obviously. That's going to be his first idea. But if you guys don't have Mills, that's going to be brutal because I don't know how everyone's going to match up. But I think Diggs is going to have his day. He always plays well against New England. I can see him getting a touchdown. I think it's really low scoring. I'm going to say like 21-20. But Buffalo has so much on the line. They have a lot more to lose here because they're the favorites. They're the ones that made the AFC Championship game. Brian Dable's taking interviews, as Bobby tweeted, with the Dolphins and Bears, I believe. And this might be the time they finally lose him. So this could be their last chance with him.
And Leslie Frazier, I might add, their defensive coordinator. So that's two coordinators that are, I'm just going to say, at least one of them are going to be leaving for a head coaching job, definitely.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's true. Maybe both of them, but I think Buffalo gets it done. I think Allen does just enough. It's not going to be the prettiest game, but I gotta ride the Bills. I can't let the Patriots.
Yeah, you would never.
Oh no! If I ever heard him say he's cheering for the Patriots, I'd be like, "Are you okay?" I would have to ask him if he's okay.
Yeah, right.
But like I said before, I'm not gonna be like so thrilled that Buffalo won. I'll just be like, all right, we're done with this. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, Buffalo got this dub.
It's more like a lesser of two evils for you, kind of. That it's like, oh, you're not like yay Buffalo, but it's more like, oh, like at least the Patriots didn't win.
It was like Red Sox Astros almost in the ALCS. That was almost just as bad. Like I was like, I guess Astros as long as they lose the World Series, but like, I feel dirty cheering for the Astros. Like what a mess. But
people were conflicted. I know Yankees fans are rooting for the Red Sox.
Yeah, and I know too. I'm like, how do you guys do that? It was a crazy situation.
I would never, ever. I would never root for the Yankees like over the Astros.
No,
I never could do it. But yeah, no. I mean, I think you brought up a really good point too. There's a lot more pressure on Buffalo in this game because they were the favorites. Like they're the ones that are expected to be here. The Patriots are not really expected to be here. The Bills were expected to win the division and barely won the division. And so there's a lot more riding on the Bills right now because if they lose, it looks a lot worse on them than if the Patriots lose.
100%. Bills Mafia is going to be crazy. I want to see how that crowd factors
Twitter meltdown is going to be
how
insane.
Many tables they're breaking pregame and stuff. Like,
this gives me a Chiefs Patriots AFC Championship game 2018 game vibe in that sort of way.
Wow, that'd be crazy too.
With the crowd factor, because if you remember that game, the Patriots literally the first drive went down and scored a touchdown, and you could hear a pin drop. And listen, I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Gabby?
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to say, you could just literally feel the intensity of it.
That's a good analogy.
And the thing is, too, is if somehow the Patriots go down and score, I could guarantee you this, if the Patriots are going to win the coin toss, they're going to get the ball because they're going to want to start off hot. That's what they're going to want to get off to a good start.
On the road, okay.
And I will tell you this, if they drive down the field and you know what, everybody's saying Mac hit this rookie wall, like I said earlier, I want him to just shut everybody up. I'm just telling you, Mac is the type of guy who, he'll make a mistake and then he's going to come back out and then the next drive he's going to, excuse my language, beat your ass. That's what he does. He's done it all year. Look at the Colts game. We were down there. He struggled in the first half. Second half, he leads us back. Same thing with the Dolphins game. He doesn't play that well. We're not coming back. It's just, I love the resiliency in this kid. I really do. Gabby, I don't know how you feel. I'm happy with him as our quarterback for the future.
I am too. And of course, now you have the people who are like, oh, Max sucks. Like, he's not the guy. But it's because of a 2-week span. Now we have these Patriots fans on Twitter who are talking about that. But no, I do too. I think he's perfect for the Patriots system. I think his work ethic and his attitude fit in here. And the way he looks at the game of football, I think is just such a Patriots type of mentality that I think he kind of is just meant to be here. And I do not think he would be putting up the kinds of rookie numbers he's putting up now if he was in any other system.
100%. 100%
You're so
spot
right.
on.
As an outsider for Mac Jones, I joke with Bobby, say he's not that good sometimes, but I do realistically admit that he was the best rookie quarterback, obviously, this year, based on what we saw. The Patriots is the perfect fit. Gabby's point, he wouldn't be doing this with the Jets. Well, let's be realistic here. Things will not look nearly as clean. If you guys said Zach Wilson, I do wonder how that would look. I think you guys, I feel like he'd be better too, but who knows? I'm sure it'd be interesting. But no, Mac Jones is solid, but I'm not going to trust him over Josh Allen. Allen's obviously better to this point.
Understandably so.
If I need someone to make a big throw, I'm going to go with Josh Allen because we've seen him. He can rip it, but he can also make the crucial pick. So they got to watch for that. The Bills, the Patriots
he can.
They definitely can. And the same thing for Mac. He got picked twice against the Bills last time. So I think there's going to be some turnovers here. I think that's going to be a big factor as well.
Yeah, I definitely like all of that. I think you guys are both spot on. I think it's going to be a close game regardless of what happens. I think it probably will be low scoring. I do think too, I think the Patriots defense is going to be able to hold the Bills for the most part. And I think the Patriots offense might come out a little slow at first maybe, or hopefully not. But if they do, I could just see it being low scoring for the sole sake of the Bills defense can be pretty tough as well. So I do think it'll be a low scoring game for multiple factors, but I think it's going to be close. But I obviously have to pick the Patriots to win it. And I do think they will. I think that they are on a mission this time. And, I think that they already won in Buffalo this year. So hopefully that gives them some confidence going into this game. So that's going to be a fun one. And then the next one is appropriate for this segue into this game because the next game on Sunday at 1 is Eagles-Bucks. And so the Eagles are one of those teams that I'm so sorry, but they are not a team I would have ever at the beginning of the season said was going to go to the playoffs.
We said the same.
I did not say they were going to be even close to going to the playoffs this year. This is a team that definitely surprised everybody this year, especially in the second half of the season.
Look at their head coach. They didn't even know when they hired Nick Sirianni. Who the heck is Nick Sirianni, for crying out loud? When he got hired, I'm like, who is this guy? Did you find him on the street or something? Or I'm just going to tell you what he's done with this team is unbelievable. Listen, I think this Eagles team is very inconsistent. I really like Miles Sanders. I think Devontae Smith is very, very good. They got rid of Zach Ertz. Dallas Goedert is their guy. If he stays healthy, he can make a lot of plays.
Oh, he's a beast.
Oh, yeah, he's very good. We never thought this Eagles team – I thought this Eagles team was going to be either last in the division or third. So here's the thing with this. The Bucs right now, everything they've went through – and I'm trying to go to this game too on Sunday to try to get covered. So, as a matter of fact, I got to put in my credentials request. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'll try it. Yeah, I hope so. But for this game, I could tell you this. And my sister-in-law is going to be down here, and she's an Eagles fan, so I'm going for the Bucs on this one. I don't want the Eagles to win, but I will tell you this. This Bucs team, they don't have Godwin. Antonio Brown's on a different planet right now. So many injuries. Gronk is fine. They're getting Leonard Fournette back. Today they placed Richard Sherman on IR. He's not going to play. Not surprised. It just wasn't his year. But they're getting healthier. I'm just going to tell you this. This game, I think the Eagles could stick in it, especially if they their defense plays well. And you saw that there's a game plan. You want to beat Brady, all you got to do is pressure him. But Gabby, you know where our hearts lie with Tom. You know, we know
all too well. You cannot.
First of all, if you haven't watched, by the way, his documentary, Man in the Arena, if you didn't watch the last episode today, Gabby, and you watch it, he literally gave a heartfelt goodbye to Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, and I actually almost was like, it upset me. I'm like, yeah, you definitely have to watch, and after you do, trust me, you'll text me and be like, wow, you were right. It was Jules, it's great, that documentary. But anyway, this I'm just going to tell you this. I think the Bucs are going to annihilate the Eagles, and it's going to be bad. Me and Julian joke about this all the time. You're going to have to call the FBI because there's going to be a massacre at Raymond James Stadium, which is 25 minutes from my apartment right now. So I will tell you this in terms of this game. No matter who's in at wide receiver, Tom Brady's going to get the job done. We've seen it this year. The Eagles defense has played very well. And, Darius Slay is a very good corner. He's going to cover Mike Evans. And, he might limit him for a quarter or so. And then Mike Evans is just going to do what he does. But I think that in terms of this game, I give credit where credit's due. I think Jalen Hurts has been inconsistent, but he's played well. I mean, he's brought this team to become and the help of Gardner Minshew, by the way.
Who deserves a starting spot, by the way, somewhere.
Yes, I agree. But I will tell you this in terms of this team. If somehow they're able to keep it close, I'll be shocked. But what Nick Sirianni's done in his first season is remarkable, and he's really done a good job because I could tell you this, and I don't know if you guys know this, the Eagles locker room was not sold on him before the season started, and they even complained to ownership about him.
Oh, wow.
So look at how tides have turned, and you've made them a playoff team. So my hat's off to Nick Sirianni and the Eagles, but I'm sorry, unless Tom Brady, gets kidnapped by aliens, and you gotta have Blaine Gabbert play. There's no chance. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
this is pretty funny. I have a fun question for you guys too. And then Bobby, is Jack Barrett and JP Peters supposed to return?
Yes,
right? So
they're going to play. Yes,
worse for the Eagles. 8.5's the line. I want they might be able to go over that, but my question is: do you guys root for Tom Brady to go to the Super Bowl again, even though he just did it last year? Do you guys want to see something different in the NFC?
What do you think, Gabby?
I mean, I always will root for him because, he's my guy. You know what I mean? So it's hard not to. I mean, until he gets eliminated, I probably will root for him, because, there's no team in the other team in the NFC that I'm like, oh my gosh, I really would love to see that team in the Super Bowl, except maybe the Cardinals because I think that'd be pretty cool. But, other than that, it's, not really. So I definitely would root for him until if he gets eliminated.
I feel the same way, but the only way I'm not cheering for Tom in the Super Bowl is if he's playing the Patriots, by the way, I don't know if any of you know this. Everybody wants to see a Patriots-Buccaneers Super Bowl. That's what everybody – and if somehow that happened, somehow in maybe the multiverse this happens, in the Spider-Verse, the multiverse, talking about all that happens, that I will cheer for Tom no matter what. I'm happy for his success. Yeah, in the Super Bowl, Jules, you were here with me last year during the Super Bowl, seeing Tom win. I'm just like, yay, like that because him winning a Super Bowl without this great logo, well, right there, that great logo right here, it just doesn't feel right. But I'm always going to cheer for Tom. And when it's all said and done, which if he wins the Super Bowl this year and he doesn't retire, I don't know why he's still doing it. But and I just want, and Gabby could agree with me, when he retires, I just want him to come home. Come home.
That's gonna happen. You don't have to worry about that. He's not gonna retire as a Buck. You already know.
No, of course not. No.
I really do.
He's like 44 now. I don't understand. He might be the MVP, like him and Aaron Rodgers. The crazy. He's so good still. I don't know how he defies the age and everything. And if he wins it all again, I don't understand why he would continue either at this point. He's already has the most Super Bowls for more than any franchise. He has 7 and all that. So I don't want to see him in the Super Bowl again. Last year I actually rooted for him because I picked the Bucs to win it. So I was actually.
Oh yeah, you did. That's right.
Yeah, it was a weird situation for me, but this
Who
year I
would
don't want
you root
that.
for though if it was Bucs Patriots?
I cheer for
I would do Bucs.
I did.
Again.
Oh my God! It broke my heart to do this, but I cheered for the Chiefs. I was like, because I didn't want Tom. I didn't want Tom to win another Super Bowl without the Patriots, and then I was happy for him. And I have a Buccaneers Patriots Buccaneers Brady T-shirt. I'm not buying the jersey, but it was a bad situation. And then of course the Buccaneers and just didn't show up that game. But I'll just say this: if the Patriots lose to the Bills, I want the Buccaneers to win it all.
Yeah.
That's fair. I kind of figured you guys would fall on that. I just thought it was a fun question to ask because I know how close he is. Obviously, you guys still he's doing the crazy things that just defy everything, like I've been saying. But so I'll go quick with Bucks. They should win 30-20 or something like that. I think it might not be too much of a blowout because the Eagles can play that ball control, run it a little bit. The Bucks run defense has suffered the last few weeks. So if the Eagles can play that, like slow it down, like get a few early scores, maybe they can hang for a little bit. But we know Brady's going to stretch it out and rip the secondary up later in the second half, probably. Evans is healthy, which was a big issue because he looked hurt in the last game. That would have been a problem. Gronk's going to do Gronk things in the postseason. And Fournette back is huge because he's been so good for the Bucs. No one even realizes it.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think I'm on the same page as you guys. I just think at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to the fact that the Bucs are just a better team, a more experienced team. And at the end of the day, I mean, they literally just won the Super Bowl last year. And this Eagles team is just, you know, brand new, like new head coach, like a lot of new players. Like Jalen Hurts has obviously never been in this situation. So I just think at the end of the day, it's just going to come down to the Bucs are just going to show that they're the better team. And I don't think it's going to be close either.
No, it's not. Like I said, I smell a massacre happening down here in Tampa. Call the police. I'm telling you this. I really want to go to that. I want to go to at least a playoff game since I'm down here. And the fact that I think I actually I got. If I can't go in there, I'm going to do at least a report. Maybe you know what, Jules. You know what I'll do? If I can't go to the game, you and I will do our Instagram live. We'll go and I'll be right there, and we'll do that. I think
we can do whatever. Keep me posted. I'll be ready to go that Sunday. We'll get forward to whatever.
And then you know what? What was it, Gabby? I know when I was in Atlanta, I tried to FaceTime you because I was right by the tunnel with all the players coming out, and then like for some unknown reason, it didn't work. Yeah, but if somehow I'm allowed in there and I'm by the tunnel when Brady comes out, I'll FaceTime you and Julian, and that'd be sick. So
that's gonna be amazing. That would be so amazing.
Yeah. So for that game, go Bucs.
We all are in agreement on that. Yeah. Next one is 49ers Cowboys. This one actually interests me.
This is a really good one.
Here's what I think on this one. I think the 49ers are a sleeper team. I think I said if they get into the playoffs, I think they can cause damage to a lot of teams.
100%.
I think the Cowboys are a little bit – I don't want to say they're not a good team because I do think they're a good team, but I think they got a little bit of a kind of a little bit more of a coast through because they had of their strength of schedule. I think that they didn't have to play as many difficult teams. And so I think there's going to be – I think the Cowboys haven't been as exposed for their weaknesses this season as they should have been because of their schedule. And I don't want to take that away from them because I do think they're actually a really good football team. But I just think in general, I don't think we've seen all of the Cowboys' weaknesses yet. And I think there's going to be more weaknesses shown in this game. And I actually think that I think the Niners are with you. That's who I have.
Yeah, here's the thing with this. I think the Cowboys, they're kind of getting exposed a little bit. I'm getting that vibe. They're really, I don't know what's going on with them. In the beginning of the year, they were red hot, especially against the Patriots. We couldn't stop CeeDee Lamb. Now he's slowing down. They have so many weapons and they don't get, I don't know. I love Dalton Schultz, tight end, which will probably be the Jets tight end next year.
I hope so. They've been saying, let's go get him.
Yeah, so in terms of this, Zeke Elliott, to me, he's lost a step in my opinion. He's not himself. He's not as fast anymore. He drops a lot of passes out of the backfield. You never saw him do that a few years ago, and he's not even old. He was 2016. He was a rookie, and he's just not himself. And
injuries, I guess.
And I'm just going to tell you, I think this 49ers team. And you know what? I got to apologize to Jimmy G himself, Garoppolo, because he played his heart out the other day. He was lights out.
Yep. Oh, and second half. I mean, geez.
He was amazing. He was tremendous, and he literally everybody's been knocking this guy since he lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs. That overthrow, and we get it. He's inconsistent. He can't stay healthy. And Gabby, you know this too, is when he was with us, we thought that was going to be our heir apparent. But I'll tell you this, he's really played well. I think Deebo Samuel is not human. Not only is he a great receiver, he's their best running back. He could throw the ball too. He does it all for you. And what is going on with this 49ers defense? They're really good, especially as of late. They got a great pass rush. Their secondary's playing very well. And I'm going to tell you this. If I'm the Cowboys, if I'm especially Mike McCarthy, because in my opinion, I'm sorry, I'm not sold on him as a head coach by any means necessary. I'm losing sleep. If I'm Dak Prescott, I'm losing sleep right now. I'm telling you. And Jimmy Garoppolo, all you got to do, Jimmy, just don't throw the ball to Trayvon Diggs' way. Just keep it away. Just give him the Richard Sherman treatment back in the day. Don't throw it his way. Let him stay over on that side of the field, and you'll be fine. Attack the other side of the defense. But to me, I'm going to tell you this, Gabby, Julian, I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the Niners, and they sold me on that game last week against the Rams. That's what I'm saying. This team could go far. No team's going to want to play them if they beat the Cowboys. No, whoever they have to play, you're losing sleep. I'm going with the 49ers. Dak, to me, he's had that 5-touchdown game the other day, against the Eagles, whoop-de-doo. But I need to see more from CeeDee Lamb. Amari Cooper, in my opinion, I don't understand why he doesn't ask to be traded. He never gets the ball. And it's disgusting because he's one of the best receivers in football.
Oh, I know. He deserves better.
Yeah, he does. And no, what were you saying, bro?
I was gonna say he seems like he checks out sometimes. Like you don't see, like he just goes, like he just disappears. Like they don't throw the ball to him. Like I don't know if it's like him not getting open or like he's open and they'll throw it to him. But like you see him start off games hot and then he just cools off and stuff. But maybe they just don't look enough. I don't know. But he needs to be a factor for the Cowboys to win. You guys said a lot of great things. I want to say 49ers upset. I still trust Dak over Jimmy G. Oh, that last drive was electric. Juwan Jennings was a good X factor for the 49ers, too. He's making a lot of plays late in that game. Debo, like me and Bobby say, is the Swiss Army knife. He's even throwing passes now. He's running the ball. He returns it. Like, the guy can do everything. Might as well line him up on defense next.
Watch him do it, and he'll watch him line up at corner, and he gets an interception. Watch.
Hey, a lot of things we're taking away from this episode. Bobby takes on Boston Balling. From what's going to happen this weekend. No, I agree with you guys. Though, I mean, I think you're right. I think with the Cowboys, I think there's a lot of factors that we haven't seen that need to be factors if they're going to win this game. And I just think overall the 49ers, like they're coming off of that really, really good win against the Rams. And I think it's going to be tough for the Cowboys to beat them. So I actually do have San Fran with the upset. And I think that they can make a serious run. In general, I think a lot of the NFC needs to look out for San Francisco, to be honest with you. So it's going to be fun to see like how far they go, but I'm definitely with you guys. I think the 49ers win that game too. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, obviously, but I think it's going to be close. But I think I do have San Fran with the edge in that game as well.
It's going to be box office. You're talking about the two teams that have great big appeals. You're talking about Jerry's World at 4:30 on Sunday. Like it's probably going to be the highest rated game. Could be the best game. It might come down to a late field goal. Can see it going back and forth. I think offenses come to play here. I really do. I know both defenses are solid. Pass rushers all over the place. Elliott, like Bobby said, I missed a good Zeke. Like it was fun to watch Zeke play.
Me too.
Like it's not
especially for
anymore.
fantasy.
And now you see, although Power's been getting some good work in, so he's been helping, and Elijah Mitchell's been good for San Fran. So I'll say San Fran gets an upset like a 27-24, maybe like a 31-28. I think
it's close.
Like you said, no one wants to play that team. I think it's a nice sleeper team to pick to win it all. The problem is I don't trust Jimmy enough still, like when it comes down to it late, like to get it all the way done. I mean, he could beat Dallas though.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think it's going to be close, and I have San Fran as well. And then so we have a couple more games. We can kind of go through these a little bit quicker. Steelers Chiefs. I mean, that one's going to be probably a blowout. To be honest with you, I don't think Big Ben has enough in the tank for this one. I think that the Chiefs dominate at home. It's kind of a bummer that the Steelers are in that spot because I think they would have had a much better matchup against the Raiders. But I think the Chiefs are going to – I mean, the Chiefs don't scare me as much as they used to, but I do think they dominate this game, and I don't really have any hesitations with saying that. They're clearly – they're a better team. I don't think Big Ben has enough in the tank, and I think the Steelers have just not shown enough consistency to me this year overall to feel confident enough that they can even, like, make a competitive game against the Chiefs.
No.
Have you guys responded yet to Big Ben's retirement party in Kansas City?
Oh no, but I'm totally down for it.
So yeah, no. In Kansas City, they're actually handing out pamphlets, flyers saying "Come to Ben Roethlisberger's retirement." It's the funniest thing, and handing it out all over. I thought it was the funniest thing I've seen. I'm just going to tell you this: you want to talk about massacres in Tampa? There's going to be a massacre in Missouri. I'll tell you that. This Big Ben does not, by any means, have anything left in the tank. That arm of his is shot, and we're talking about a guy who used to have one of the best throwing arms in football. So it's really coming down to who knows if his Deontay Johnson's going to be ready to go. Chase Claypool, to me, is I'm not a big fan of Chase Claypool. I think he's really, he's kind of a child. I honestly, ever since he cost him that game where the clock's ticking and he points, I'm sorry. This is going to be a blowout. I think the Chiefs, you know what? They've been very hot. They've been very Jekyll and Hyde this year on offense, especially. Tyreek Hill last week, did you guys see he injured his heel jumping over McCall Hardman in warm-ups? Got to stop doing that because they're going to need him desperately down the road. But I think this game, even if you wanted to sit him out this week, get him healthy for a week, why not? You're playing the Steelers. The only thing I'm going to say that scares me a little bit is that TJ Watt could wreak havoc against the Chiefs offensive line, because we could all agree the Chiefs offensive line, even though they added pieces like Joe Thuney, Orlando Brown, this offensive line, in my opinion, did not improve to an elite level, in my opinion.
Yeah, Creed Humphrey's really been good too, but they're not, like, as a unit, it's not working how they expected it to, I guess. The Steelers defense is good. I saw the picture of the Roethlisberger retirement party.
Is that what you're laughing at?
Yeah, that's why I was laughing. I was able to dig it up. I'm totally down for that. Sounds fun. I think the Steelers defense can limit them for a second, but I'm saying blowout too. Like, they won 36-10 the first time. This time we'll make it a little closer, I guess, like 34-17 or something. Like, I don't know. Like, it sounds like it seems like it might work out. But yeah, Roethlisberger's dead. Like, his arm's dead. He hasn't even been thrown for like 200 yards. Like, they've been winning games like with almost smoke and mirrors. Like, I don't even know. Like, it's like
Najee Harris
running, Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson like making a few plays, and Claypool here and there. And then Fairmail's been good too. But yeah, Roethlisberger's done. Chiefs are gonna win pretty easily.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. I mean, that one's probably going to be, I don't want to say one of the worst games of the weekend, but probably one of the, like, not as close games.
Yeah, no, it was, you could.
Because it's such a fun, even kind of, like, matchup. But no, that one's going to be interesting. I mean, I think it'll be, I don't like either team, so either team losing would make me happy, regardless. But that one's going to be, I think we're all in agreement there that that's probably going to be like a blowout in the Chiefs' favor. And then the last one, the Monday night game, like Julian mentioned, they've never had a Monday night game in, like in the playoffs. So this is going to be interesting. But Rams Cardinals, this one here, I think could actually be one of the best games of the weekend. I mean, I think we saw these two teams all season were battling back and forth for the division title. And, I think my first thought on this that comes into my head is Matthew Stafford, from what I've seen recently, kind of concerns me a little bit. I think the Rams on offense, there's a bit of a concern there. And I think Stafford, even last weekend, did not look great. And so I think that's something that we need to really be concerned about. I think the Cardinals are playing and looking like a more complete team. And so I have this one as a close game too, but I have the Cardinals coming out with the edge in this because I think they're going to come out looking more prepared. And I do not trust Matthew Stafford to be consistent all game because we haven't seen that, especially really the entire second half of the season, really.
This is a tough game to pick. Brother, how you feeling? I have my pick made, but I want to see where you lie with this.
Well, the thing is with this game is with Gabby. Matthew Stafford is starting to go back to the old Matthew Stafford, turning the ball over way too much at the wrong time. And I think that you're starting to see like what he was when he was with the Lions, when he had Calvin Johnson and Golden Tate. It's getting a little bit too much, a little trigger happy, I feel like. because he has Odell. Cooper Kupp is just, you want to talk about aliens, Cooper Kupp is not human. I'm just going to tell you this, that Cardinals defense, they just might as well admit it that they're not going to be able to cover him. They're just not going to be able to do it. He's going to have 12 catches, 200 yards, a touchdown. Well, maybe not that, but something 100 yards at least, and 8 catches. But I'm just going to tell you this. For me, that's concerning is 2 things. The Cardinals have started out this season red hot. Everyone thought they were the Super Bowl favorite early on. And they went up, they were up, and then they have fastly come down to earth. Yep. And when you don't have DeAndre Hopkins playing, see what happens. But this team has Kirk. They got A.J. Green. He still has got stuff left in the tank. James Conner and Chase Edmonds are very good. To me, I think this is a shootout. This is the toughest game of Super Wild Card weekend. That, to me, I'm still right now thinking anything can happen. This Rams defense is very good. They just lost to Jimmy Garoppolo, for crying out loud. I personally think
17-0.
Yeah,
really.
I'm just gonna say this. I really think that if somehow DeAndre Hopkins plays, because there is a chance he plays.
Is there really? I had no idea that was even on the table.
I believe he does, yeah, because they said they were saving him for the playoffs. If he plays, I'm going to tell you, I think he can wreak havoc against this secondary of the Rams, even though they're a very good defense. Without him, it's going to be challenging. The Rams defense really needs to step up big time. I think Chandler Jones and, by the way, J.J. Watt is going to probably play. So there you go. You got Chandler Jones and you got J.J. Watt, 2 pass rushers that are going to try to wreak havoc. That's going to be very, very challenging for Matthew Stafford because, as you've seen, if you want to beat Matthew Stafford, just keep pressuring him. He's another one. He doesn't like to get hit. He can extend the play, but he does not like to be hit. He's been hit a lot of times when he's in Detroit. I'm just going to say this right now. I think it's going to come down to the last possession. I really do. Whoever has the ball.
Totally.
I think Odell Beckham Jr. is going to have a very good game as well. I think he's somebody to watch out for the Cardinals. For me, I think it's A.J. Green. I think A.J. Green's going to be that guy you're going to see making these plays. They're going to really have to make halftime adjustments to try to stop him because he could still play at a high level. I'm a huge A.J. Green guy, always have been. And Gabby, I don't know if you know this. You know A.J. Green would have signed with the Patriots if we offered him $1 million more.
I actually saw that. Yeah, I actually saw that. And when I saw that, I was so
upset. I'm like, just give him the $1 million.
Yeah,
this was this past offseason?
Like, come on.
Yeah, no, it was between the Cardinals and the Patriots. And the Patriots were literally, they wanted him as the number 1 receiver. And if he was here, I think I would really be excited. I think he would have been great for us. But yeah, it was basically down to $1 million. So instead of trying to win I get where he went. He wanted to play with Kyler and that offense. I get it. But $1 million is the reason he's not here. And honestly, I didn't make a big deal about it then, but thinking about it now, I'm like, come on, $1 million, Bill, it's $1 million. You gave Nelson Aguilar 2 years for $22 million, for crying out loud.
Seriously,
wow.
no.
What was the contract he signed with Arizona again?
I think it was 2. I think he signed a 2. Let me look that up real quick
while we're at it. But
yeah, Julian, what do you think? What's your opinion on the game?
In terms of the game, it might be the best game of the week. It could be the hardest one to pick. I think this 49ers and Cowboys, NFC West has been that division all year. You have 3 powerful teams, and they've been up and down at times. The Rams for Matthew Stafford, his legacy's on the line. He still hasn't won a playoff game. Yeah. He's got to get that going. So for me, I'm going to have to side with the Rams, though. I'm going to give them a chance. I think the Rams still have some life. They gave up 2 first-rounders for Matt Stafford. They put everything into the basket of Matt Stafford. They signed Von Miller. They do all these things. And to lose 1 and done in the playoffs would be a horrendous look. But it could happen. I mean, obviously it could. But I think the Stafford's going to pull it together. The run game's going to be huge. I know you guys obviously, Michelle, clearly, he's been very good for them. And
yes.
Akers, we'll see what Akers can do. He'll be an interesting factor.
I think he's the X factor. I forgot about Cam Akers. I think he could be really good. And by the way, AJ Green signed 1 year, $8 million, and the Patriots didn't want to give him $8 million for 1 year. I understand. So in terms of 1 year, $8 million for a 34-year-old. I get it now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm going to go with the Rams winning like by a field goal or so, but I think it's going to be low scoring because, like I said, with Patriots Bills, these teams know each other so well. So I see like a 26-23 or like a 24-21 type deal. And then it's going to be an interesting chess match between McVay and Kingsbury, who I'll take McVay in that scenario most times rather than not. But like, it's going to be a crazy game. The Cardinals with AJ Green and JJ Watt, that's a legacy game for them too. They're still trying to get Super Bowl rings, and they're on the back nine, obviously. Kyler Murray's got a ton of time still. If DeAndre Hopkins can somehow play, that does change things. And Jalen Ramsey's going to have to be huge for the Rams as well. Obviously, Aaron Donald, and we'll see what Vaughn has in the tank still. Bobby, I do agree about Odell, too, because they're going to try to take out Cubs, so there goes Odell.
Oh, yeah.
And can they get Higbee going? Because he's kind of hot and cold. If he can be a factor, that'll be good for them.
Especially in the red zone. I think Higbee is going to be that guy in the red zone that they're going to struggle to contain.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. There's a lot of like X factors in this game. You know what I mean? Like a lot of like, if this person shows up here, if this person shows up here, those are really what's going to be the game changers in this one. I feel like, but you guys are right. This one's tough to pick, but I definitely understand where everybody's coming from. I think it's going to be another close game. So I think overall we have a really, really nice set of games here this weekend. I think it's going to be a really fun wild card weekend to watch. And I think a lot of games are going to come down to the wire, and you never really know what can happen. Again, it's football, and any day, any team can show up and another team might not. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out of this weekend. And, it's going to be, I'm excited. I'm excited. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be a fun weekend.
I know.
I appreciate you guys joining me on the show as always. I mean, you guys are great. I love your show. I love all of our back and forth. I love the constant support you guys show of my show. It's always appreciated. And obviously everybody for listening every week, which I know I say a lot, but that really means a ton to me too, because the show would not be where it is without any of you. So really appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate everyone spending your Tuesday night with us. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week and a great wild card weekend, enjoys watching all the football games. And, I hope everyone has a great rest of your night as well. And thanks for tuning in as always.
Absolutely. Gabby, the pleasure's all ours. Like we said, we support you 100%. To me, I always tell everybody, you want to listen to Boston sports, you go to Boston Balling. I say it all the time. We say that's just the way we feel. We love coming on your show. We love having you on, and we will definitely have you. You know what? We should return a favor and have you on next week to talk divisional rounds. We should definitely have you on our show. So
I would be down to do that.
I think it's only fitting. This was really fun. I said, guys, I feel really, really bad. I with that debacle before, so I.
All right. Julian and I had a good conversation while you were gone.
Yeah. So at least you know what. At least I made that as brief as possible. Down where I live, listen, you'll get random people knocking on your door asking where. I've had people knock on my door and ask if this is if I'm certain to somebody, and sometimes I might be like, yeah, that's me. Sometimes I like to play games, but you never know what it's just like you never know what's going to knock on your door. So I just go with the punches. And just before they were like legitimately banging on my door. So I'm like, all right, what is this? Let me go check it out, because it scared my wife to death. So I was like this. And then some guy's just like, is this 303? I'm like, no, it says 203 right up here. So
what the hell? Like, Jesus
oh gosh,
Christ.
After all that. That's
but yeah, it's nuts, man. I wish if you were here, you probably would have been dying from that. And if he asked for Bobby Thompson, I would have said, yeah, that's him right behind me. I would have had you play me. But Gabby, we love being on your show. I love every one of your guests. I watch every week you put out an episode. I watch it. We are huge supporters of you. I know you support us. You're one of the most positive people we've ever met, especially on Twitter, because we know people on Twitter, and forgive me for saying this, can be very toxic and, not being supportive. So we are very fortunate to be able to meet you. And the one thing that we still got to do is we got to hit up in Boston and Harvard Yard and get a Fenway Frank, or go up to Foxborough, go back up to Gillette Stadium in Foxborough with the horrendous parking they have, and go to a game next year. We definitely got to do that.
Definitely. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
Gabby, thank you so much for having us. It's all love, like Bobby said. We always appreciate support on Twitter and everything. We're always checking out your stuff, sharing it what we can. Your guests are always awesome. You put out great quality. What you built by yourself, like I said, is super impressive. Like, we help each other. Like, I don't know how you do it by yourself. It's really tough. We have people helping, and it's so tough for us. Like, I got to give you all the credit in the world. You do a great job pulling it all together. Like always.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, guys. I really, really do. Yeah, no, I love doing it. It's awesome. And I love you guys. Thanks for coming on again. We'll definitely talk about, me coming on your show to do the football.
Absolutely.
Everyone have a great rest of your night as always. And I will talk to you all next time on Boston Bowling.
All right. Thanks, Gabby.
Thank you so much.